Lisa was an ordinary girl living a normal life until she received a Facebook friend request from a stranger named James. She had no mutual friends with him, but what unsettled her was how eerily familiar his profile picture seemed. Out of curiosity, she accepted the request, only to start receiving messages from him containing old photos from her childhood, some of which she had never seen before, as if they had been taken from an angle she didn't even know existed. At first, Lisa thought it was just a prank, or one of her friends trying to scare her. But James seemed to know unsettling details about her life, like the appearance of the dolls she had as a child and the exact windows she used to look through to see the backyard. Feeling uneasy, she decided to block him. Yet every time she blocked the account, he would return with a new one, continuing to send photos and messages. Things took a darker turn when she received a message containing a photo of her current home, taken from the window of her bedroom. That night she heard strange noises outside, slow footsteps, as if someone were circling the house. She tried calling the police, but they found no evidence of anyone in the area. The terror deepened when Lisa began researching the name James. After a lengthy search, she discovered that the name was tied to an old disappearance case from 30 years ago. The victim was a young girl who had lived in Lisa's current house, last seen with a man named James. The chilling revelation? James's Facebook profile picture matched an old photograph of the suspect, wearing the same shirt he had been seen in the day of the disappearance. When Lisa tried to brush it off, strange things started happening in her home. Lights flickered without cause, doors opened and shut on their own, and a persistent tapping sound emanated from inside the walls. One night she woke up to the sound of footsteps approaching her bed, but no one was there. The next morning she found a message scrawled on her bathroom mirror in shaky handwriting. "You can never escape me." Lisa finally decided to leave the house, but she found a new note in her mailbox. Inside was an old group photo. In it, Lisa stood next to a man who looked exactly like James, though she had never met him in her life. The man had his hand on her shoulder in an unnervingly possessive manner, and next to him was a doll identical to one she had as a child. At the same time, some of her friends were participating in a popular TikTok challenge under a trending hashtag. The challenge was simple: go to an abandoned location and record a short video. But after posting their videos, everyone involved began experiencing terrifying nightmares and hearing strange noises in their homes. Some reported seeing dark figures mysteriously appear in their videos, while others vanished without explanation. One day, Lisa received a message from one of her friends who had participated in the challenge. They claimed to have noticed something strange in one of the videos. Lisa's face was visible in the background, even though she wasn't there. The last message Lisa received came from a mysterious account. "Everything is connected. Your past and your future are here." Shortly after, Lisa disappeared without a trace. All that remained were a series of cryptic messages and eerie posts that began appearing on her social media accounts as if she were trying to reach out from another world. The posts contained strange symbols and short audio clips describing dark places and muffled cries. One of her friends noticed hidden coordinates in one post, leading to a nearby forest. But everyone who ventured there returned with terrifying experiences or didn't return at all. Emma Collins, a college student living in New York, was known for her active presence on social media. Her accounts were filled with snapshots of her daily life, travels, and even study moments. One day, Emma stumbled upon a mysterious hashtag that was rapidly gaining traction. #follow me if you dare. Driven by curiosity, she clicked on the hashtag. What she found was unlike anything she had seen before: disturbing and baffling videos of ordinary people taking selfies in front of mirrors, but their reflections were moving differently. Some appeared to be silently screaming, while others had their faces gradually fade into shadows. At first, Emma thought it was some kind of hoax or clever video manipulation, but she felt an inexplicable urge to try it for herself. So she took a selfie in front of her bedroom mirror and posted it with the hashtag. Everything seemed normal at first, but then she noticed something strange. The likes on her post skyrocketed, and every comment came from anonymous accounts, all repeating the same eerie phrase: "Your reflection is not yours." That night, Emma began hearing strange noises coming from her mirror, faint whispers barely audible, but the words were clear: "Switch places with me. Your side is better." She tried to ignore it, but then she noticed her reflection moving differently. If she smiled, her reflection stared blankly. If she left the room, she could feel its eyes following her. Things escalated quickly. Every time she tried to delete the photo or remove the hashtag, the post would reappear with new, unsettling comments. It's too late. You can't go back. Her best friend Jessica noticed Emma's growing distress and tried to help. When Jessica searched for the hashtag herself, she found cryptic warnings from others saying, "If you see the hashtag, don't click. If you open the photo, don't share it. And if you share it, say goodbye to yourself." But it was already too late for Emma. One night she woke up to the sound of loud knocking on her mirror. She approached it cautiously, only to see her reflection staring back with a horrifying grin. Before she could react, a hand reached out from the glass and pulled her inside. The next morning, Emma was gone. Her friends and family found no trace of her. But what was more chilling was that her social media accounts began posting new photos every day. Each photo showed Emma standing behind different people, silently watching them in their homes, cars, or even their dreams. Jessica tried to convince the police to investigate, but they dismissed it as a hacking incident. However, Jessica noticed something terrifying. Everyone who liked Emma's new posts disappeared within days. The hashtag #FollowMeIfYouDare continued to spread, becoming a global phenomenon. Everyone who interacted with it eventually vanished. Some claimed their reflections spoke to them before they disappeared. Others reported hearing Emma's voice whispering in their ears, "Come with me. It's dark here, but it's peaceful." To this day, it's believed the hashtag is still active and that Emma has become part of something far more sinister. A dark world that lives within our screens, waiting for the moment we hit like one last time. Colin was a young man in his 20s, a university student living in New York City. He was known among his friends for his cheerful and mysterious persona on social media, where he maintained an account filled with humorous content and adventures that seemed to reflect a perfect life. However, behind this false facade was his true struggle. Colin suffered from severe social anxiety. He felt immense tension and anxiety in real-life interactions with others and preferred isolation most of the time. But on social media, he transformed into a different person, adventurous, brave, and eager to attract attention. He participated in challenges and shared videos, pretending to live a thrilling life, while in reality, he was terrified of meeting strangers or speaking in front of people. For him, the internet was a safe space, a place where he could escape his frustrating reality. One day, while browsing through apps, he came across a strange advertisement on one of the social media platforms. "A unique experience awaits you. Follow us if you dare." The ad piqued his curiosity. There were no clear details about what this experience was, but the cryptic message made his heart race. He clicked on the attached link, fully aware he probably shouldn't, but something inside him urged him to explore. He entered a page filled with strange videos showing people standing in front of small cameras in abandoned places, talking about facing their greatest fears. The faces were distorted or displayed unnatural expressions. Unable to resist his curiosity, he decided to send a message to the number listed on the page. "I want to join." A stranger responded with a calm voice. "You are invited. Everything will be fine. Come at 10 p.m. He didn't have many options, and it seemed like the adventure he had always searched for online. That night, he went to the mysterious address sent to him. It was in an abandoned neighborhood on the outskirts of the city, where old buildings and long shadows created an eerie, foreboding atmosphere. He entered through an open back door and found himself in a dark, cold place. The place resembled an abandoned lab, with old equipment and scattered furniture. He began to feel an uncomfortable weight cling to him, but he tried to ignore it. Suddenly, the lights turned on unexpectedly, and a person in black attire appeared, speaking in a calm tone. "We are watching you. You must play our game." Colin had no choice but to comply. He was taken to a dark room where he was tied to a cold chair, and his eyes were blindfolded. Strange whispering voices filled the room, but he couldn't tell who was speaking. At that moment, he felt something strange on his body, as if an invisible weight was pressing down on him. Then, he heard another sound, someone else approaching him slowly. When he removed the blindfold, he found himself in an entirely different place, surrounded by other people in the same situation. "You won't be able to escape." These were the first words spoken by the person watching them. After a long time, Colin discovered that this group was part of a secret organization that abducted people with social anxiety, forcing them to undergo terrifying experiences that made them face their deepest fears. These games involved setting up frightening scenarios and psychological traps, where the victims had to interact with things that pushed them to the limits of their mental and emotional capabilities. Each game involved a terrifying psychological challenge. In one instance, he had to enter a completely dark room where strange sounds emanated from the walls, and he knew he had to act and move around the room without showing fear. On another occasion, he was confronted with invisible threats that tried to destabilize his psychological balance. But the worst part came when they put him in a situation where the guide pointed out that one of the people in the room should not survive. The game grew more brutal with time, and Colin began to feel as though a part of his personality was being eroded with every passing moment. He started doubting himself and began to believe that these experiences might be part of a much bigger game than he had imagined. In one critical moment, Colin decided to escape, trying to find a way out of this nightmare. He seized a moment of distraction and ran through a narrow corridor leading outside, but he felt as though someone was watching him. Suddenly, when he reached the door, he fell into another trap. Before he could escape, he received a strange text message on his phone. "If you escape now, someone else will take your place." Suddenly, the familiar voice returned in his ear. "You won. But now the game must continue." In the days that followed, Colin began to feel that the world around him was no longer the same. He noticed strange things happening to him, like mysterious notifications on his phone and changes in the places he visited, as if the game hadn't ended yet. The characters he encountered in that eerie experience began appearing in his daily life, and he noticed strange details around him. Heavy footsteps around his house or faint lights appearing in corners, as though his own world was starting to shift. Eventually, Colin disappeared, but his friends noticed that his social media accounts continued to post strange images, as though someone else was typing behind that screen. Jenna was a college student in her 20s from Los Angeles, known for her beauty and bubbly personality on social media. She had accounts filled with beauty content, fashion, and snippets of her daily life that seemed perfect. However, behind this curated facade was the real Jenna, someone struggling with anxiety and self-doubt, hidden beneath layers of makeup and carefully planned posts. Her life, while seemingly flawless online, was far from perfect. Jenna had grown so accustomed to her online persona that the real Jenna, who dealt with anxiety and the pressure to appear flawless, was buried beneath the filters and edits. One evening, Jenna posted a new video on Instagram showcasing her latest fashion purchases, accompanied by the hashtag #ShinyLife. It wasn't an extraordinary post, just another sponsored ad. But the hashtag caught the attention of someone who had been following her for quite some time. Derek had been following Jenna's posts for months. At first, he admired her beauty and the seemingly perfect life she led, but over time, his admiration turned into obsession. He memorized every detail of her life from her posts, the cafe where she got her coffee, the gym she went to, and even the places she traveled to. It wasn't long before he began feeling a strange connection with her, a sense of intimacy, even though they had never interacted. When he saw the post with the new hashtag, something inside him snapped. He believed that Jenna was calling him, that the hashtag was meant for him. He spent hours scrolling through her account, obsessing over every picture, every comment, looking for hidden meanings behind her posts. Unable to resist the pull, he decided to send a message to the number attached to the page. "I want to participate." A strange voice responded calmly. "You're invited. Everything will be fine. Come at 10 p.m. Derek didn't have many options, and this seemed like the adventure he had been looking for on the internet. That night, he went to the mysterious address sent to him. It was in an abandoned neighborhood on the outskirts of the city, where old buildings and long shadows created an eerie atmosphere. He entered through an open back door and found himself in a dark, cold space. It resembled an abandoned laboratory, with old equipment and scattered furniture. Derek began to feel uncomfortable, but he tried to ignore it. Suddenly, the lights flickered on, and a person in black appeared, speaking calmly. "We are watching you. You must play our game." Derek had no choice but to continue. He was taken to a dark room where he was tied to a cold chair and his eyes were blindfolded. Strange whispers filled the room, but he couldn't tell who was speaking. At that moment, he felt something strange on his body, as if an invisible weight was pressing down on him. Then he heard another voice, someone approaching him slowly. When he removed the blindfold, he found himself in a completely different place, surrounded by others in the same situation. "You won't be able to escape," were the first words spoken by the person watching them. After a long time, Derek discovered that this group was part of a secret organization that kidnapped people suffering from social anxiety and forced them to face their deepest fears. These games involved terrifying situations and mental traps that pushed victims to their emotional and psychological limits. Each game presented a horrifying psychological challenge. In one, Derek had to enter a completely dark room where strange noises came from the walls. He knew he had to move through the room without showing fear. In another, he faced invisible threats trying to destabilize his mental state. But the worst was when they put him in a situation where their guide indicated that one person in the room should not survive. The game became increasingly cruel, and Derek began to feel as though part of his soul was being eroded with each passing moment. He doubted himself and began to believe that these experiences might be part of a much larger game than he had imagined. At a critical moment, Derek decided to escape. He seized a moment of distraction and ran through a narrow hallway leading outside, but he sensed someone was watching him. Suddenly, as he neared the door, he fell into another trap. Before he could escape, he received a strange text message on his phone. "If you run now, someone else will take your place." Suddenly, the familiar voice returned in his ear. "You've won. But now the game must continue." In the days that followed, Derek began to feel that the world around him was no longer the same. He noticed strange things happening to him, like mysterious notifications on his phone and changes in places he frequented, as if the game had never ended. The characters he had met in that strange experience began to appear in his daily life, and he noticed odd details around him. Heavy footsteps in his house or dim light appearing in corners, as if his reality itself was changing. Eventually, Derek disappeared, but his friends noticed that his social media accounts continued to post strange pictures, as though someone else was writing behind that screen. Caroline, a quiet and diligent college student, spends most of her time on social media because she dislikes real-life social interactions. One night, while scrolling through her account on a new and exciting app for young people called Friendly, she received a strange friend request from an anonymous account named Your Lost Friend. The profile picture was completely black, and the description read, "I'm here to finish what I started." At first, Caroline ignored the request, but the app began acting strangely. Old photos from her phone, ones she had never uploaded, started appearing in cryptic posts on her account. Each post carried a single message: "Do you remember me?" After extensive research, Caroline discovered that the app had a hidden feature that allowed it to access hidden photos and old conversations. When she tried to delete her account, a strange notification popped up. "You can't escape. We're friends now." As events escalated, Caroline began receiving direct messages from the mysterious account. Each message contained chilling details about her life, including secrets she had never shared with anyone. Things took a darker turn when she realized the account was using her phone's camera to record her without her knowledge, posting videos of her when she was alone. In a state of despair, Caroline decided to investigate the origin of the app and discovered that its creator was a young man who had been bullied and humiliated online before taking his own life. It was believed that his digital spirit now resided in the app, seeking revenge on those addicted to the digital world. The tension rose when Caroline tried to disconnect from the internet entirely, but the world around her began to crumble. Every device she used, even public ones, seemed to be under the control of the mysterious account. One night, Caroline received a new message that read, "If you want to survive, return to where it all began." She realized the account was referring to the small town where she had grown up. That place was filled with dark memories, including the disappearance of her childhood best friend, Louis, who was never found. She felt an eerie connection between Louis and the app. Determined, Caroline returned to the town, and during her journey, messages continued to appear on gas station screens, digital billboards, and even car dashboards. It seemed as if all technology was under the account's control. When she arrived in the town, she visited Louis's old house. It was abandoned, covered in strange drawings on the walls, all bearing the phrase, "Don't trust them." In the basement, she found an old journal written by Louis. He had detailed his experience of being bullied and receiving online threats from his classmates before his disappearance. The final page read, "They won't leave me alone. I'll become one of them." As she read, the power went out, and the room was filled with eerie whispers. Her phone screen lit up with a new message. "Now you know the truth, but can you survive it?" Suddenly, Caroline realized the account wasn't just a supernatural entity. It was a dark network run by a group of people exploiting technology to control their victims. The game was much larger than she had imagined. Caroline was chased by masked figures in the town and had to flee through the woods. While trying to survive, she began deciphering the messages Louis had left behind and discovered they contained a method to disable the network and end its control. When she reached the climax of her journey, she found herself in a room filled with massive servers in the basement of an abandoned school. As she began destroying the equipment, the account appeared on a screen in front of her, saying, "If you destroy us, you'll become one of us. The choice is yours." The story ends with an open conclusion. Caroline sacrifices herself to save others, becoming part of the system and taking the place of your lost friend. Alternatively, she successfully disables the network, but her phone lights up with a new message. "You've won this round, but we're still here." Sarah Myers, a 21-year-old university student, lived in San Francisco. She was passionate about photography and obsessed with sharing her pictures on a fictional app called Photogram, similar to Instagram. One day, Sarah decided to visit the famous redwood forest outside the city to capture new photos. While wandering among the giant trees, she stumbled upon an old, plant-covered, abandoned building. She decided to take a picture of herself in front of this building, using a filter that gave the image a mysterious vibe. Moments after posting it, a strange comment appeared on her account from an anonymous user named Darkaa. "This place, you shouldn't be there." Every time Sarah reviewed her posted pictures, she noticed a mysterious figure in the background. The figure wore a black coat and a wide-brimmed hat that obscured their face. Her growing unease led her to report it to the police. However, the authorities said they couldn't act without concrete evidence of a real threat. That night, as Sarah tried to sleep, she heard faint knocking on her window. Suddenly, her phone buzzed with a new notification. "You have no idea who's watching, geez, but I'm getting closer," Sarah posted on her account. "If you're watching me, why hide? Come face me if you dare." Minutes later, a reply came, "As you wish. I'll see you tonight." She set up a small surveillance camera in her living room and braced herself for what might come. At midnight, she heard glass shattering from the kitchen. Slowly creeping into the room, she saw the ominous figure standing before her. He wore the same coat and hat, his eyes glinting in the dim light. Sarah tried to scream, but he raised a knife, threatening her into silence. Fortunately, she had sent an emergency message to the police before his arrival. Moments later, sirens blared, and before the man could escape, officers stormed in and apprehended him. It turned out the man was a deranged stalker obsessed with Sarah. She decided to take a long break from social media, realizing that sharing every detail of her life could open the door to real dangers.